So people are feeling that they're getting nickeled and dimed and they're not getting value for their dollar.
What's driving it? And can Vegas bounce back? That's on the next On Point. Weeknights at 8 on WNYC.
The Marketplace Morning Report is coming up next here on WNYC. And still ahead on Morning Edition, in the 1990s, singer-songwriter Sarah McLachlan carved out a space for women during a time that the music industry was still largely unfriendly to them.
There was an attitude that you could not play women back-to-back on the radio, and you certainly couldn't have them play together on tour.
That space was known as the woman-led music festival Lilith Fair. A new documentary looks into its success. We'll hear more about that coming up next hour. .68 degrees right now. Mostly sunny today. We're expecting a high around 80 today. Tonight, a low of 65. Tomorrow, partly sunny, a high of 78.
If you use medicine, sit on furniture, or get stuff delivered by truck, take note of new Trump administration import taxes.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Avalara, providing cloud-based solutions for businesses to manage property tax compliance. Learn more at avalara.com/property tax.
I'm David Brancaccio in Los Angeles. President Trump has unveiled a new batch of tariffs to start the 1st of October. Medicine, heavy trucks, and household furniture. Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer is following this.
In a social media post, President Trump says the U.S. will impose a 100% tariff on imports of any branded or patented pharmaceutical product. There will be an exception for companies that are building plants in the U.S. That is, Trump says, if they've broken ground or a project is under construction. The impact of this import tax isn't clear, though, since according to the FDA, about 90% of all U.S. prescriptions are filled with generic drugs, which won't be affected by the new tariff. Trump also announced a 50% duty on cabinets, a 30% import tax on upholstered furniture, and a 25% tariff on imports of heavy trucks. All these new duties start October 1st. I'm Nancy Marshall-Genzer for Marketplace.
We're talking here 4 days, 17 hours until a partial federal government shutdown is possible. Services deemed essential would keep going, but federal workers wouldn't get paid until the budget impasse is resolved. A shutdown will especially shake the 6th largest metro area in the U.S., the National Capital Region that includes Washington, D.C., home. It's a metro that's home to more than 6 million people. Marketplace's senior Washington correspondent Kimberly Adams reports.
Between the DOGE layoffs and cuts to federal grants and research, unemployment here in the D.C. area is up 0.6% year over year as of June.
While in very large metro areas as a whole in the country, it's basically flat.
Tracy Haddon-Lowe is a fellow at the Brookings Institution and has been tracking the impact of Trump administration policies in the region. She says the housing market has taken a hit as well, with listings up more than 63% in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area.
They're up nationwide, but the increase in the DMV is about double the nationwide rate.
Tourism is also suffering, says Yeshim Sayan, executive director of the D.C. Policy Center.
There's no interest among European tourists to come to the district. Canadian tourists who have been important, they're not coming for political reasons.
And now already stressed federal workers are worried about a shutdown as well. Furloughed federal workers are supposed to get back pay, but, says Terry Clower at George Mason University,
that doesn't help the folks who are working at the restaurants or places that may be retail outlets.
Or some federal contractors who lose out on work and just have to take the hit. In Washington, I'm Kimberly Adams for Marketplace.
A star of the pandemic, the used car chain CarMax is coming off a lackluster quarter. Only part of it was car buying in the late winter to get ahead of expected tariffs in the spring. CarMax stock fell 20% yesterday. This morning, Dow futures are up 0.1%. S&P futures are flat, and NASDAQ futures are down 0.2% ahead of a closely watched inflation report this morning. Personal consumption expenditures, the core rate, excluding food and fuel, is the one that central bankers watch. It's supposed to ease slightly. By that measure, prices are up 2.9% in a year at last check.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Progressive Insurance. The Name Your Price tool provides a range of coverage options. Progressive.com. Price and coverage match limited by state law. And by Schwab. Schwab offers investors choices like full-service wealth management, self-directed investing options, and trading on Thinkorswim. More at schwab.com.
You may not have heard of a company called Tricolor, but its bankruptcy this month is seen as a harbinger of wider economic distress. The Texas-based firm specialized in car and truck loans to buyers with poor credit or no credit, some of whom are in the U.S. illegally. It's part of the $80 billion subprime auto market. Marketplace's Henry Epp looks at some of the reasons buyers have racked up a lot of car loan debt in recent years.
Over the past few years, cars and trucks got way more expensive. Jessica Caldwell is with the car buying site Edmunds.
Pre-pandemic versus now, they've gone up significantly.
29%, according to Cox Automotive. The average price of a new car is over $49,000 now. That means buyers are taking on more debt. Joelle Scally is an economic policy advisor at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York.
The average auto loan borrower in the U.S. owes about $5,000 more than they did in 2019. And what's interesting about that is that's not just for borrowers with the highest credit score.
Subprime borrowers have seen their loans grow a similar amount, Scally says. Typically, those are lower income borrowers, she says, and that means their car loans are a bigger burden on their budgets.
There's going to be a higher payment on those loans, in part due to the higher balance, but also because rates are higher now.
Over 7% for new cars and 11% or more for used vehicles, according to Edmunds. At the same time, says Shannon Martin at Bankrate, lenders recognize many consumers are stretched thin, so they've made it easier for some customers with lower credit scores to get loans.
There's been offers extended of longer loan periods, lower down payments.
Locking some borrowers into loans stretching to 7 years in some cases.
That also kind of puts consumers in a very precarious situation where if it's hard for you to make those payments, you're locked in for a much longer time than you would have been over the past few years.
Access to subprime financing may get a bit trickier after the collapse of the lender Tricolor for two reasons. One, Tricolor, like most auto lenders, had its own lines of credit with banks, which are now facing losses. So, says Adam Levitin at Georgetown Law, we may see banks
being more circumspect about the advances they make to subprime auto lenders.
Plus, lenders typically bundle up all the auto loans they extend to borrowers into what are known as asset-backed securities. Sound familiar? And if those securities now look a bit riskier to investors,
we may see less investor demand for those. That's going to basically push up the cost of subprime auto credit,
which could make it that much harder for some drivers to buy cars. I'm Henry Epp for Marketplace.
Our executive producer is Nancy Fargali. Our digital team includes Antoinette Brock, Emily McCune, and Dylan Miettinen. Our engineers are Brian Allison, Rachel Breeze, and Tessa Block. In Los Angeles, I'm David Brancaccio. It's the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.
WNYC